He told me he never wants your back. Yeah, I heard you said never put the back, so I was thinking that on the side.
I may just turn this mic on since we're live streaming tonight for this. So this will be what'll pick you up.
Is Wendy on?
She's not on yet. She'll hear you fine, but for the live stream, we're just gonna kind of put it in amongst them.
Needs a big fire in here. And Wendy texted me and said that Kirsten she'd be a little bit late. Coach?
Yes. Come on up.
Oh boy, there we go. How about that?
We got-
You're in the hot seat, huh?
No.
That's right. Get the spotlight.
And then you can.
Oh, it's all up to me.
It's hot or not.
Oh, it's hot.
You wanna wait for a
Yeah, let's give it
little bit of
a
time,
couple
because
more
when she
minutes.
comes on.
Hopefully maybe will log on. Kirsten, I don't know how late Kirsten will be.
I resent an email, so.
Okay.
So David, that camera there is what's being filmed tonight up there?
Yeah, you're live now,
Okay.
because it's 5. So,
While we're waiting,
You can speak low.
up on the screen there is what was done over the past year and some of the capital projects. So it'll be running all night. It's kind of interesting because there's actually been a lot done in the facilities over and he has before and after. So I just, as we go through the night, if you have time to look, I mean, they've done a lot of projects over the past year, so. I talked to Dr. Moore. She's up here.
she's not there yet.
She's doing so now.
Okay.
Hey,
Hi, I can see you. Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay.
Can you hear us okay?
I'm sorry.
Can you hear everybody okay?
So far, but all I've heard is.
Yeah. How about over here at the table, Wendy? Can you hear
Yeah,
us?
I can hear. Just if everybody else speak up, that would
Yeah.
But yes. Thank you.
Okay, well, we had a note that Ms. Collier was running a little bit late. I think we're trying to press a lot into this 1-hour session, so I think we should probably go ahead and get started, and we'll catch Kirsten up as she joins. This is an open public work session. It's a tool that we try to use to engage with stakeholders in the public and people within the corporation. 3 things on the docket that we're going to try and get to tonight if we can. That's pretty aggressive as far as these work sessions go, but the first topic is going to be it's titled BMS BNL Athletics, and it's really about a topic we started to address this fall, which is really non-NLCS participation in our athletic programs at the middle school and high school level. And then we'll visit with the proposed 24-25 and 25-26 school calendars And obviously, Dr. Miller is remote right now, so she had asked that I help preside over this meeting and the regular meeting that we'll have at 6 o'clock. So I will try to keep us kind of rolling to make sure we try to get to these at least 2 topics. And if we get to this vision and strategic vision mission statement with Mr. Yancey, then we'll try to get that as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Yancey. And
We asked Coach if he'd come from the athletic department, of course, from being Bedford North Lawrence High School. And we're talking about a new rule that was put in by the Indiana High School Athletic Association dealing with homeschool children or students. So, Coach, I saw you passed out the rule.
Yep.
And I'm going to give you a few minutes to kind of explain this, and then we'll take questions from the board. And go ahead.
Okay. Back in April of 2013, the IHSAA addressed the issue of homeschool students participating in athletics. They created a bylaw, Rule 12-5, which is at the top of the paper that I have for you there this evening, that laid out the criteria that if homeschool students were to participate in athletics, in IHSAA athletics through a high school, they would need to go through the proper channels and the proper steps. And you can see there's 5 steps laid out there for homeschool students to be able to participate in high school athletics. This issue has been discussed. I have my notes here in this folder that says homeschool report in 2014, and then again in 2019, and now we're bringing it again here today. And I put together kind of what other schools, one thing as over my years of being involved here that have often been asked is to see what other schools are doing. Not that we have to do what they're doing if we choose to go a different direction, but it always helps to kind of see what other schools are doing. And you can kind of see the list of schools that do allow homeschool students to participate and those that do not. The idea behind the rule is much like their academic requirements. Schools can adopt those, and they can make those more stringent if they so choose, or they can go by the IHSAA rules. And you can see, like I said, it's laid out by the IHSAA that if homeschool students can check the boxes in 1 through 5, that they would be able to participate. The one that deals with them being in a school setting, in the school, it asks for like 1 full credit subject offered within the member school. That's where I was saying that, there may be other schools that require them to be in 2 classes or 3 classes, or maybe not still a full-time student, but in additional classes. So, some schools do and some schools don't, and, it's been brought here again, and I know this fall we did some things with the middle school. And middle schools operate in a different way. They're not bound by the IHSAA guidelines. Now we often try to follow similar guidelines at the middle school that we do at the high school, like with physicals and different things along those lines. But basically it's something that like I said, has been brought to our attention over the years, and it's been brought here again today. And I think it's good for us to discuss this and kind of see where we want to fall as far as if this is something we want to pursue.
And reviewing what we did in the fall, or right at the beginning of the school year, the board approved kind of a short-term approval for, we didn't say homeschool, we said non-NLCS, students to play middle school football and color guard, I believe, is that right?
Yes.
Color guard, and then we tabled what would be the winter sports, I think, of swimming and something else. Wrestling. And so those are, I think, a part of this conversation, although certainly you're mainly representing the high school here, and so I just want to make sure everyone knew kind of the context of that.
Well, I will say on the middle school side, we do host wrestling and swimming at the high school for practices and for events, and those are 2 sports that are in need of, always need numbers,
Right.
Both at the high school level and at the middle school level. And if you can get kids participating at the middle school level, you hope that they will continue on at the high school level as well.
How long has this bylaw 12.5 been in effect?
since 2013.
And then this, Rule 18.1, there in the eligibility number 4, you have any idea exactly what, is that just that they're in the current school year or something, do you have any idea what that is?
Let's see.
Which one are you talking about, Scott?
18.1 right here.
Number 4 there, it talks about meeting the provisions of Rule 18-1.
Yeah, that,
But, and it
I'm
talks
pretty
about
sure that
period.
that deals with, their grading period, meaning like, for instance, at the high school right now, we have a 5-period day, so kids can take 5 classes. They have to pass, if they take 5 classes, they have to pass 4. If they take 4, they have to pass 4 in order to meet the IHSAA requirements for eligibility. So that's what that would pertain to. That they would have to show that
They're
they're
passing
doing,
enough.
they're doing some work.
Right, even though they're
in the
taking
home
only one
Right.
P&L, they have to show
Right.
they're passing enough to
Yeah.
be qualified. Okay. And the 2 previous years that it was discussed,
Mhm.
I guess the conclusion was not to.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know many of the main reasons why that was decided?
The main reason was that, everyone makes a choice, and if they're gonna go, they want the opportunity to, whether it's playing in sports, or in the band, or in music, or musicals, or student council, or all those things, they need to be in our building for the full day. That's
Well, I can tell you at 14, because I was the one that caused it. Because I made the motion to form a committee
Okay.
to investigate, or to find the detail and figure out if it was something that we should do. And all the resources, or all the research that we did at that time, there wasn't a lot of downside, because at the time, we were looking strictly at the individual sports, the golf, the tennis, the swimming. Even though swimming is a team sport, it's a little different, it really wasn't about basketball, football at the time. And we were looking at lots of different options too, that they would have to probably pay to play, that they would have to take a class, so that there was the cost, especially if we allowed football. I mean, the cost of football equipment's expensive. But the board at that time was very much, if you choose not to go to school here, you choose not to participate in our activities. To the point where we didn't even get to a vote, really. As far as we did vote, but it was, the committee I had, we met once, and it was not pleasant. There was not a lot of back.
Can I just clarify, for the high school, are we talking about all sports, or, because I know for the middle school, it's only, sports that don't require tryouts, but when we're talking about B&L, is that the same or different, as, in terms of what we're considering?
That they would be eligible for all sports.
Yeah, the IHSAA rules
According to
are
this,
all
yeah.
sports, but I think we can, and probably everyone has kind of considered this, as we talked about it in the early fall, that some of these, unlimited sports, or sports where you don't have to try out and then have a set number of people that you can only take.
You're historically low.
I think it's reasonable to talk about that, and talk about the conditions, talk about the costs, that non-NLCS students may be asked to share and things like that. I think those are all things. I can't imagine, it going very well in a basketball or volleyball scenario where you have limited slots on a team, where someone would
Yeah, I think.
try out and then bump an NLCS student off.
But you have that, you
Yeah,
got
the
all
no-cut,
sports.
the no-cut sports, I think is.
I mean, you have a track team, you wanna be the fastest one on the team, you wanna be the one that throws the discus, you wanna be the one that throws the shot, you wanna be on the relay. If you pull in non-NLCS students and let them participate, you have knocked our kids off of those spots. Same as a basketball team. Those are coveted spots.
Yeah, but in like track and swimming, you got 3 places per event.
Yeah.
In tournaments, you got more places, you need 4 for a relay. So, and
When you can only put 3 kids on it,
swimming
in
and
that
wrestling,
relay, or in that.
are numbers that
Right.
traditionally low, sometimes we can't fill all the weight classes, so But
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean,
as far as-
eventually you only have a, set number of your fastest sprinters you'll run
Right.
on a.
When you go to sectional, you have a limit, or
No, even in
conference,
meets.
conference. And most of our meets are wide open.
yes,
Okay.
We some,
It's
there's
only if you're
schools,
gonna
there's
advance
schools that
out.
bring 10 kids for an event right
Yeah.
now. Yeah, and we don't have 10 kids for an event.
No.
But it really, it gets down to a conference that says you bring your top three and.
So do we know, we've had single requests for homeschoolers to join? Do we have that?
We have,
Why are we bringing this up?
We had somebody request this recently.
we had this request in the spring or in the fall for the middle school.
No, I'm talking about the high school. I'm talking about the high
And
school.
then recently, in fact, we have some visitors here with us tonight, Brent and Kathy Bochild, who have written a letter to us to ask us about participation in homeschool, their homeschool kids.
And do we know how many homeschoolers at the high school level that we have in our district? Maybe not yet? No? Okay. So we don't know what the impact would be if we did, except
No.
other than,
I doubt it would be very high.
yeah, we think so either.
I wouldn't think so. And the thing is, if you look at number two there, like a kid couldn't, like leave our high school, like a sophomore kid in our high school couldn't say, well, I'm gonna go be homeschooled
Right.
and still be a part of athletics. It has to be, with 3 years in succession as far as in this non-public, non-accredited school. So
Right.
it's not something that there would be moving in and out of like,
So that- yeah, so
I don't wanna go to
they're
school and
committed,
be an L.
they've been committed to homeschooling.
Right.
Yeah. so-
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the math would be worked out to where they've had to have been homeschooled since like the 5th or 6th grade to be able to be eligible by the time high school comes
Yeah.
around, so. Well,
My problem is they're not, a homeschool student isn't really on the same playing field as a NLCS student. They've not sat in a classroom all day. I know one who does homeschool until noon and then has a personal trainer to help him in the afternoon in their sport. That's an unfair advantage to an NLCS kid. A homeschool kid does not go to a meet, to a game, to a practice, ride the bus there, ride the bus home, and then have to go home and do homework and get up the next morning and make it to school by 8. I mean, they're two totally different playing fields. And that puts them at a different advantage over a student that's, goes home, gets home at 9:30, 10:30, and still has 2 hours of homework.
Well, I think Scott asked if we knew when they pressed it. So Mr. and Ms. Bochild are here, and they had written a letter to the board earlier a couple weeks ago, I think, and I don't know if you all would have input that you want to provide or share as you're sitting here.
I'm not sure what kind of I have a letter written that I can read, that I was gonna read later. I don't know if you want me to discuss all of everything now, but, it is true that it's different than public school, but my kids do school all day as well. We do online school some. My girls are in Latin class online right now. My other children are taking writing classes online. So, they're just kids. They just wanna, you know what, let me just go ahead and read.
Can I
The
ask you a
question is
question?
why now?
Let's
Yes.
Two actually. How many children do you have?
So I have 5 children.
Okay. And they've all been homeschooled their
Correct.
entire academic
Correct.
career? No,
Their whole,
from
yes.
kindergarten up?
From kindergarten up. My
Fifth grade.
oldest is at Purdue right now. My second oldest is a senior right now, and then my youngest are triplets that are freshmen. And we've run cross country. I calculated this was our 11th year to do homeschool cross country. I've appreciated North Lawrence has been amazing at letting us compete in all of the season meets. Obviously, we can't do anything postseason, but they've been really great about letting us do the season meets for 11 years at both high school and middle school level. But the question is, why did we ask? Why do we want to change things up now? And it really comes down to my kids did track with St. Vincent, because St. Vincent allows homeschoolers. And so we ran track in the spring last year, and that's something I can't do with 2 kids. I can't have a high school track team. We don't have enough children to form a team. I mean,
Close.
yeah. We've got 2 girls, and they want to run. That's what they want to do. Next year, we're going to be struggling to get a high school cross-country team. So if we could join together, I know that we can help the high school teams, and it gives us,
gives them an opportunity to be a teammate with people in the local area. We can go and join a team, we can join a track team, a homeschool track team in Indianapolis, we can do that, but we've run here, we did track at St. Vincent, we competed against the cross-country team in high school this year, and it'd be nice to be teammates with local runners. It'd be nice to stay here and help the high school and be teammates with the people that they ran with last year that are gonna be running track this year out at the high school. So, you know, that's why we're asking. You know, my goal is for them to have a good athletic experience in high school, to make friends with fellow athletes, to be a part of a team, and I would just like the opportunity for them to do that closer to home. So that's why we asked.
And the IHSA requirement for one class is not without some, I think, benefits in terms of financial benefits. I'd asked Steve initially, and I think Mr. Yancey, you confirmed that the way our funded through ADM, through membership in our schools, is proportional to the funding. If they take 1/7 of the day's classes, we get 1/7 of the funding from the state. Is that correct?
Dual enrollment, full-time equivalency situation, that's calculated by the percentage of the day the students.
Essentially prorated by their participation. If they took 4 of 8 periods, they would get 50% or something like it.
I used to take the homeschool kids when I taught at New Albany, Floyd County, and also at Mass Consolidated. And sometimes when you take the kids and they would get used to your school, they would actually take more classes. I had other kids that eventually, time they were junior or senior, were full-time students at Mass Consolidated School and graduated. So, I mean, part of it is also is getting kids to want to come to our high school and be a part of it, because I do think we provide a great opportunity for kids at Bedford High School, Bedford North Lawrence High School, so, that's
That's our goal, though. It's one thing one of our objectives is to increase enrollment.
Correct.
But I don't think that's, 5 kids is gonna.
but you're just trying to be
doing it,
nice,
yeah.
that's all.
So Mr. and Mrs. Wiltshire, would you enroll in the required IHSA minimum of 1 class for your students?
That's what we're petitioning for, yes.
From a competition standpoint, I mean, I've always believed to be the best, you gotta beat the best. If you lose a spot because somebody else comes in, whether they're our student or a homeschool student, you should make you wanna work harder. So I don't buy into the, what if one of our kids loses a spot? Work harder, be better. And we can make excuses and say, oh, it was a homeschool kid and, it shouldn't have happened. Well, cream will rise to the top if you motivate a kid to either be better. I mean, I've had out of 7 kids, I've had all different levels of athletic ability. I've had some that are phenomenal and some that were marginal. And I told them the same thing when they didn't get a play as much as they should have. Work harder or do something else. And so I don't know that, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I think it's gonna be few and far between where somebody's gonna come in. I mean, I think when we did this before, if we had passed it, we would have had a state champion swimmer that year, because that person was gonna come in and dominate. And we've had a soccer player that went on to play Division I soccer that didn't play, it was a homeschool, so I like the idea that they can come, they're friends with these people, friends with all the students anyway. It's not like it used to be. Homeschooling's become much more common. I mean, when we were doing this before, very few were doing homeschooling. So I didn't see the value then in homeschooling. I see and understand why people do it now. But I hate that we're hamstringing some students that are trying to better themselves academically and saying, no, you can't participate, when they're participating with them on the travel teams and everything else, so.
I like the idea that they're taking a class.
Do we know if,
Go ahead.
sorry,
Go ahead, Wendy.
do we know if, and this may have been talked about at the very beginning, if schools like in Monroe County or other surrounding schools?
We have the list.
We have the
2 do
Okay, so
and 1,
that's
2, 3,
what I
4,
missed.
5,
Okay.
6, 7, 8, 9,
And then
10,
my
11, 12
other
done.
question when this was considered by the board before, Tracy, I know that there was a committee, was there any public input? Like, I don't really know how people feel about this.
No, we didn't. It was,
like a meeting.
yeah, there was three of us that had a meeting and then we talked about it during a board meeting, an open board meeting, and then we voted on it. It was pretty
Okay.
evident.
Like a few people like.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, because I did obviously come into this meeting a little late. Are we just talking homeschool kids, or are we talking the,
Well, for high school, it would be
This
homeschool,
is high school right now.
but they have to live in the
Well, it's
district.
it's
No, I mean-
BMS, BNL.
oh, okay, we're not talking about the charter
Right.
schools yet.
Well, the charter schools, when we, early in the fall, when we talked about the charter school participants in our football and color guard then, that's where you get some overlap, but there's really no overlap when we
Okay,
get to
so
the high school
charter
level.
kids-
Because the charter schools
They
have
just go
both,
through
Don't
eight.
have
both
They
have
just go-
seventh, eighth grade.
Okay, so this is just homeschool, okay, I'm.
But I think if we take it up somewhat, encompassing that, as we did in the fall, we kind of put off the discussion of swimming and wrestling, which is a middle school sport. So if we intend to, address this, I think we ought to address all of it, middle school and homeschool. I'm sorry, middle school and high school, which then you'll get into some of the charter schools.
Yeah, high school is homeschool is only, the middle school is to anybody in the county, right? So it's gonna be charter
We
school.
wrote up a proposal that's in your packet for the
Yeah,
middle
so-
school.
And with these homeschoolers taking classes at BNL, I think that's a good thing as well. They get to see the high school, they get to meet the kids. They have a chance to see, what we offer as opposed to what they're used to, so that's also positive, right?
There's a positive for those kids, but they're not our kids.
Well, there are community
There are.
kids, and they could be our kids the next year if they decide that
But the woodshop kids will never be our kids.
if they take one class, they are NLCS 1/7 or 2/7 if they take two.
Jeff, which sports, it says, no, for which no tryouts are held, which sports require tryouts? And this is, I guess, just at BMS, which ones require tryouts at BMS? I'm sorry,
I would say basketball.
Just basketball?
Volleyball would probably be, but
I don't think they cut him.
I don't think they cut him
I
out
don't
this
think they
year.
did last year.
Basketball, girls and
Mainly
boys?
basketball.
yeah.
Boys and girls.
And at the high school level, the IHSAA breaks down, they have the individual sports and team sports, not necessarily for this, but that they talk about different rules for different sports when it comes to practices and sports.
But they don't for like the
No,
middle
they
school?
don't really, they try not to get involved in middle schools.
Gotcha.
Are any of these schools on the note considering it? Or are they definite?
I didn't ask them that. I would say most school corporations have this come up, maybe not on a yearly basis, but I would say on a, every so often, they have to address it and deal with it.
And did we just ask these other schools about, or these all high schools?
Those are all high schools,
Okay,
yes,
okay,
yeah.
never mind.
Yeah, I just took the high school approach for
Gotcha.
my law
Gotcha.
qualified.
So we have a written recommendation on the middle school. What is then the equivalent on the high school level, Mr. Callahan?
Right here.
Is it,
We have state
We
law.
follow the
This is following the same law.
well, there are
Unless we wanna.
instantiations where you could go above
Right.
the minimum requirements.
Correct.
And then if we get a consensus, because we can't vote here, we would take it to the December meeting.
Okay, so this is not on the voting
No,
agenda for
nothing on
November. Okay. Do you have a recommendation then, Jeff, on the high school stance?
Well, I think that, because I did call to double check on that, additional, we could make it additional, classes, and that was confirmed with one of the commissioners. I'll tell you that, I've kind of changed over the years, and Tracy probably tell you this, that when, in 2014, when this first came up, I was big on the, being our school. The world's changed, things have changed, and I gotta say, in my 21 years, I've changed a little bit. Would I love them to be in our school? Absolutely, because I think there's a lot that goes into a school day for a student. You know, whether it's being in the lunchroom, being in the classrooms, being in the study hall, being in all the different things that our school provides. But like I said, I mean, it's a changing world, and, you know, if this is a way that, and you would say that we may not get this certain person, but, you know, maybe this does entice kids to come back. And the good thing is, it's not, like I said, a sophomore can't say, well, I'm gonna go be homeschooled next year, and still participate. I mean, there are, and I think the HSAA wrote this bylaw with the idea that they wanted to make it put a little teeth into it. It's not that everybody could do it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, you have to be committed to whole school way before high school gets there.
Yeah.
If you want to participate.
Right.
I mean, you know, it's just, and then,
Yeah, I mean-
the homeschoolers, there's not that many that are that, several are committed, but not, you know.
Right.
You can't be wishy-washy, you can't be, oh, we're gonna homeschool, we're not.
right.
We're committed.
It's typically like the Bolshows who decided early on, you're
Yeah.
gonna homeschool and you're there, you know, you're
Dedicated.
dedicated,
And
and
done it
both
for
are
life.
educated and know how to, win at it strategically as opposed to
Right,
several that just kinda do it because they're mad.
precisely.
As we talked, as somebody mentioned earlier, you know, I don't know how many you would be even talking about would be eligible
Right.
at this point. Now, some people may say down the road, you know, that are started.
We could always revisit it if it ends up being.
And that's what I think on a lot of these
Excessive
things,
amount. I don't
is
expect it to
we
be
can
excessive.
make the decision, we can unmake the decision, or we can,
Yeah,
It's
you
tough
can
though to unmake it.
keep an eye on it, watch it.
Once you make it, it's tough to unmake it.
what, how time
It's only on for
sensitive,
4
Jeff, how
years,
time
next
sensitive
board
is
can
this
make it.
stuff for, like, the winter sports of wrestling and swimming at the middle school level, or even high school level, like, when do those try out, or not, I shouldn't say try, when do those calls for attendance or?
Middle school wrestling and swimming start in January.
Okay.
So it would need to be, December would be fine.
Yeah.
December, they'll make it.
You know, for anything high school related, you know, that would.
Spring sports at this point.
What's that?
We're at spring sports
Yeah,
at this
I
point.
mean, winter sports that ship has sailed, and, you know, spring sports would be the earliest, or maybe something we.
So if they
say
did
next
spring
fall.
sports, would they have to like start taking classes the third trimester? I mean, that was when they would start, they start right away. Do you have any idea how that works?
The spring semester, the spring sports are determined by second trimester grades.
Okay.
We'd probably be better off waiting.
Waiting.
If we were gonna do it, waiting till
To do it,
next year.
yeah, that would be my
Right.
suggestion. to
Yeah, start next year.
Yeah, but we've already started. the
Already
later
started second trimester.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
I'm okay with this, I mean,
Well, I'll write something up for the December meeting, and then we'll go from there, and we'll have a vote.
I wanna clarify, because Jeff didn't state it all that clearly, but the additional class, he mentioned this in an email, that the NLCC, Jeff, you wanna expand on that, the NLCC would qualify.
Any class that our school counts as a credit toward a student's graduating, like a regular student to graduate, counts for this.
The IHSA.
Within,
So,
yes.
a student could enroll in an NLCS, one NLCC course.
Right.
And count that as
Correct.
as eligible.
For the middle school though, we're not talking about requiring enrollment, correct?
no, this
No,
law
Correct.
doesn't apply to them below high school.
I don't know, Jeff said early on that the IHSEA rules don't apply to the middle school in the same
Okay,
way.
just making sure that I heard that
Yeah.
correctly.
So this will probably maybe two different motions coming up, two different votes.
I feel like they're separate. I
There
feel
are
like
separate,
they're
we'll write them up separate.
Yeah, definitely.
Considerations here.
Okay. Did anyone else come to talk about this topic? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, could I say one thing about the putting it off till next year? Grades, the IHSA requires the parent or other schooling option to turn in grades just the same way that the students turn in grades for a high school. And I don't know exactly how you check everyone's grades to make sure that they make the grade, but for spring, they could enroll in the third trimester course, and I could still turn in grades for their previous semesters, it would be the same thing. There would be no reason, because in the fall, they're not gonna have an NLCS transcript either to start sports in the fall. They're gonna be entering the same way they would be entering it this spring to do track. So putting it off until next year doesn't really add anything for them getting more school at North Lawrence before they start the sport. So I just wanna bring that up. It doesn't change anything to wait until next fall as opposed to this spring, I don't think. What are your kids' coaches? Track and cross country is what we're interested in. Track is in the spring,
So,
right?
Coach,
And
if we did it in January, they would be eligible.
I'm sorry?
If we enacted this in January, they would be eligible by track season.
When does the third, they wouldn't be able to
Well,
enroll until the
Depending
third
how their grades
trimester.
match with the second trimester, right? That's,
Right.
Third trimester starts when?
It's basically like a student moving into our corporation.
Right.
We take their grades from Jennings County High School for that time period. When our second trimester will determine our grades for our students. I don't know like if somebody's on a semester,
Right.
then we take their semester grades.
Yeah.
They would
No, it
start
doesn't.
February 15th, she said.
February 15th, third trimester.
Third trimester starts.
so if they started, you started third trimester, then you would use your first semester grades as,
Right,
to turn into the state to show
Right.
that you meet eligibility.
yeah,
Right, so
And
they would
just-
have that completed by the end of the year. I don't know,
Right.
since we're on trimesters, I'm not sure how
yeah,
that.
and we do semesters,
Oh, that-
you know,
right.
and turn in their grades for
So your semester
12
ends
classes.
in December, right?
Right,
Okay. So those are the grades that would can determine your eligibility,
Right,
even though you might wait till February to start class.
right,
Her grades are gonna determine eligibility all the time, because they're just taking one class with us.
right.
So
there's
basically, they
gonna
could,
be-
That's true.
they could fail our class,
Right.
and still pass
They still have
enough,
to validate the grades.
still pass enough homeschool classes.
Well, we could put a
No,
condition on
you could
that.
put-
Right.
yeah,
Well, we
you
can, but
could-
I'm just saying hypothetically,
Yeah.
if you just go ahead 4 or
Oh, I
5
would-
or whatever.
Oh, yeah, we could
And
say.
I would
if they fail
suggest
the
adding
class.
that stipulation, you have to pass the class at
They-
B&L,
they
that
have to
makes
pass
sense.
our-
You
they
can't
have
come
to
in and
pass
fail
our
a class
grade.
and still do the sport.
Not by the bylaw.
No, you're right, but
I mean,
That's true.
not as a
Hey,
trade.
I think the recommendation from,
You don't have any
Their
sprinters?
homeschool
corporation.
You
students
got any
are,
sprinters?
Huh?
You have any sprinters or just this?
Distance.
I changed my mind, I vote no.
okay, their homeschool students are awesome.
Right.
They've got a dedicated
A
plan,
curriculum.
they've got a curriculum, they've got
They're
parents who push them.
They're
Will
different.
all homeschool students be like that? I mean, we're not just opening up to them,
If they're all
we're
like that,
opening up
we'd
to
be
all of
broke.
them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to-
Yeah.
Sure.
But
I mean,
every
so-
parent will have
yeah.
to provide you with the transcript saying what their student is learning.
Sure.
There is a parent has to say, this is what we're doing, I'm educating my child like this. So it can't just be a kid that, I mean, people lie, but,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it is that accountability that the parent has to step up with.
I think the recommendation from the corporation, when we do come to vote on this, would need to include the conditions of not only the enrollment in IHSAA and however far we take that, but conditions of the grades and fees as well, because I think there is some cost sharing of uniforms and maybe even the coach's salary and things like that are typical overhead to NLCS that maybe want to be cost shared equally, not overburdensome, but equally with someone who's not a full-time student.
And when we had, at the Olytic, when we had non-Olytic students run track with us, they could not ride the team bus, they could not, their parents had to get them to the meets and home from the meets, and they could not participate as an Olytic student. Would we be allowing them to full transportation and everything? Is that
We always
something?
can let them on the bus.
I think
They're taking one class, that, they fall
Yeah,
into
that's what it
that.
is.
Yeah,
It'd be-
yeah,
They're ours.
just wanna make sure that, you know, if we do
They're
that,
ours.
they would be allowed.
I think so.
The middle school would be a little different. So,
They're not
That's how it was,
yeah, so
yeah.
we're gonna have to talk about that, I think you said that. Okay, for the sake of time, do we have anything else on this, Jeff, that we need to address?
Coach, thank you for coming in. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
End it up.
Thank you, board. We appreciate
Okay.
your grace and hearing us.
Thank you very much.
That's one thing.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks. Take care.
So the next next topic is the school calendar. We've posted that out for people to look at. We've got some great feedback. But I met with the superintendents of the Career Center. Since we have other schools that come into the Career Center, they had some questions. So on the calendar that we have posted, again, our neighboring schools are not close to this calendar yet. So I also
I didn't know. I was sorting my paper out.
also met with discussions, that's with the association, and that's also a mixture between elementary, middle, and high school teachers that make up the association discussions team, and they had some concerns about the calendar. Also, Amy and I at the Career Center have been talking about the calendar, and I asked them to come, and Lacey put together some information that she would like to ask us to consider on the calendar. So that document should have been passed around. It's right here. So when we first originally put the calendar together here at the central office, we were on trimester. Then we also looked at testing. As you know, we do a lot of testing second semester from third grade to eighth grade. And that there's a window that's open, the state allows us, and usually takes so many tests per day. So we added a few more days to the calendar on the second part of the calendar, because we were doing it in tries. It really didn't affect the high school when you were in trimesters, but now we're in semesters. There is some concerns that we overloaded the second semester. So Matt has asked me, and Amy has asked me to add days to the first semester from second semester. So there's a proposal there to add 4. There's a proposal to add 5. We've also talked to some people maybe taking away the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and also starting on that Tuesday. That's only 2 days. I personally don't like starting school on a Monday with children, with students. But I just think it's a lot once you've been off all summer, and then once you come in.
That's always been a thing, like, it's just, they wanna ease into it.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be horrible. My voice would be gone after 3 days of going through rules of the first 2 days of school. And because it is a different atmosphere once you get back in the classroom, and even for the students, usually starting in the middle of the week is better than starting on Monday. But that's up to you guys to decide. But I asked Amy with the Career Center, one of the things the superintendents asked if we can move our spring break up a week in the first calendar. Now, you gotta remember, these schools are all total different. One's got a consortium, 2 of them are in Jackson County, and they try to keep theirs together. So we would really help out, I think, the Career Center, the first calendar, we would move it up a week, and I don't think this. But then the superintendent said on the second calendar, the next year, they wanna go back to where we were, because they liked it. So, am I saying that correct? And you gotta remember, the Career Center's unique because we have 6 schools there, and 89 or 84 come from 87
Or
come from
outside
outside of our district. So it does put a burden when we're not semi-close. If we do add 4 or 5 days to the first semester, you do then, we're still starting a week later than what we did prior to the school year. But
So is it just not possible nobody wants to end the semester after Christmas, right?
you're right.
So nobody wants to add those days,
You
5
pretty much
days
have to
after.
Because the finals.
And nobody wants
With
to.
semester, pretty much have to straddle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I get it, nobody wants to have to think about it.
And there is a group that really likes graduation on the Friday before the holiday, but you can determine graduation. One thing it is tough on as a high school principal is having the last school day on graduation because you have to know the requirements usually 2 to 3 days before graduation.
Yeah, that's why we stopped doing it then, that's why we started
Um,
pushing back on it.
And Matt told me, he said, Kevin, whatever you guys decide, I'm gonna make it work. But I've lived it before as principal for 15 years. Graduation on that last day is tough.
So currently, going back, as the draft that was put out there for discussion, it had March 26th as the beginning of spring break, which is, am I looking at that?
24th.
I'm sorry, March 24th.
So we moved it
We're
already.
at the 17th.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And so you've got it shown here as, on this option,
Yeah.
as the 17th. What does I use? I use
I was
calendar
calling
publish?
it, because I wanted to coincide with IU.
IU is the week
It's
before.
gonna be like the tenth.
Oh, I
You
use,
moved it there once,
Oh,
and,
Not going that early.
Yeah.
ever
too early?
again.
well, I wanted it, I pushed for it because there were so many of our people that were, their kids were there. I had students at IU, I had students here, and we had people that were working there, and I thought, if we could put it together, then that makes spring break easy, but you would've thought we'd,
Oh, you'd have thought we did.
yeah,
I didn't
just
even
move it
know.
1 week,
It
so,
was-
Yeah,
It was.
yeah,
And I
it
know-
doesn't matter to me.
and I know when they moved fall break.
Yeah.
Years
I
ago,
think,
that was.
I think
that
more
was
than anything, we
horrible.
just need to get it set so that people can make plans.
And that's what
we
worries me.
cannot get in a
Yeah.
position where we have to move graduation because of
right.
dates. So
Because
we just
Right.
can't move it.
Can't
Because
do it.
people make too many plans.
Well, it's also your invitations,
Yeah,
But you've also got people that have already made their spring break plans, and then if we go move that week, we're gonna get.
well, I hope
Your-
that was a draft. After the board votes on it, we're gonna put out a PR
Is it not
campaign.
the same
it's not
week
this
as?
week though, but we're not talking about
It's
this
not
year.
this year.
This
No,
will be next year.
yeah, but is
So
it
they
the
probably
same
haven't
week
made
as, no, is it the same
plans
week?
yet.
It's 18 months.
No, it's a
not
week
12.
early.
Okay.
The spring break will be a week early. It's, starting the 17th instead of the 24th.
But then the second calendar, the next year after that, it goes
And
back.
that is IU's spring break.
Oh, the 17th
Right,
day?
starting-
17 March of 25?
Yes,
Oh, so theirs is a little late.
So it would have a benefit of overlapping with IU.
Next year.
Next year, yeah, not
Okay,
26.
you're talking about me right now.
So the proposal here
Is it
It
4 or
is-
5 days?
is either,
I would like to add dates in August.
Okay.
Because the other schools are all starting somewhere between August 4th through the 6th, I believe. If we don't come to school until the 14th, that's a significant amount of time that those students have lost. We've brainstormed ideas of bringing them in early, but at the beginning of the year, you're starting with safety, with rules, with expectations that would just have to be retaught. The finagling at the end is a much easier hurdle to come over. So I would like to see any days that you could give me at the beginning of the calendar.
So if we do, yeah, if we do.
Reading all the Facebook comments, that was what everybody liked, was the later
it
start.
was.
I
So we
mean,
could-
everybody.
We could potentially add 2 days to the first semester. If we wanna go, start on the 13th, which is a Tuesday, as opposed to Wednesday, gives one extra day, not a lot. And then use the day before Thanksgiving, make that a school day. And then that would give us 2 additional days on the first semester. We could move the last school day to be the 28th versus the 30th, so we wouldn't interfere with graduation on the 30th,
Most of those
and
schools
bring us closer.
have claimed the Wednesday before Thanksgiving as a day that they don't attend. So that would gain North Lawrence a day, but the other students would not be there if their school is off.
But they don't
I
have.
think a lot of
That's
people
okay.
travel
Can we-
on that day as well.
Yeah.
so we're still talking about graduation being 30 May though. You mentioned it being before holiday. We're not trying to track that
No,
one.
no, we're long.
We could move it to the 6th of June.
So school might end earlier, but we're gonna keep graduation on the 30th.
Do we need 2 full weeks at Christmas?
But that's not the holiday week. Did you say you wanted the holiday week?
No, I think we could go second, third. Yeah, we don't wanna move the
No.
first semester
Yeah, that's not the
to
holiday.
on the 25th.
We could add 5 days to the first semester if we
I think
made it in on January
when
10th.
we do 2 full weeks, it does better for our attendance. If you require students to be there Monday, Tuesday, and then they get Wednesday is Christmas break, families
Don't come
figure they've
Monday,
got Saturday,
Tuesday.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and we'll
Since
skip
it's
them.
fall.
Yeah, the way it falls, it's,
Falls right in
the
the middle of the week.
23rd is a
Makes-
Monday, twenty, so
Yeah,
Christmas Eve
holidays
is.
right in the middle of the week
So,
makes it
yeah.
worse.
He was asking about Christmas.
I don't wanna start any,
Oh, we
I don't wanna start the
take
week
time
sooner
away
than
from Christmas.
what we're doing it now. It's-
Well, the proposal is to start either 8 August, which is a Thursday, or 7 August, which is a
Yeah, I'm
Wednesday.
not in favor of starting that week. I think we need to keep where it's at, just because of all the reviews we've had and with, all the people having a state fair and all the interference it's been, so.
But I don't know that you get it balanced. Straddling Christmas break with the semesters is really the forcing function on the second semester. So,
Yeah, that would get you your 5 days, right? I mean,
If you did what?
if the semester ended January 10th instead of,
So that would put
Oh,
December
finals,
20th.
Yeah, they don't wanna come back from,
we would have 2 weeks
it
off
would be gone,
before finals.
it would be gone, it would be out
Yeah.
of their brains.
I would see a lot of issues.
We did that when I was in, we did that way, way back, and that was rough, because you also felt like you had to study over
Yeah.
break.
Yeah, that's.
yeah, we did it in 2020, 2021 as well, so. So it's fairly recently done it, so. Not
Oh,
like
we
it's-
had trimesters. Do we have trimesters?
That was the first year of trimesters.
So we wouldn't
We wouldn't have done it.
trimesters, you don't have to worry about how you straddle
Yeah.
Christmas
Exactly,
break,
yeah,
so
so we wouldn't have
there's
trimester in
there's a benefit
2021.
there, but.
One of our concerns with starting later is that it does push the end of school to the day of graduation, and that creates a lot of difficulties for our counseling department, who we've already created some difficulties for the semester trimester switch. And so now we'd be asking them to figure
And this is
who's gonna graduate on the day of graduation. If we have more than 3 snow
This is
days, we'd
nothing
be
for
asking
trimester
students to come
semester,
back
this is next
When
year.
did we start school this year?
August 1st.
First,
So even if we start like the next week, we're still like a
Yeah,
week
August
later.
7th is still a later
Yeah,
start.
it'd be, what was it, second August this year, right? We started?
August 1st.
First teacher day was the first, and then.
Okay,
Yeah, we
second
started-
August,
we started
second
on the
August was the first,
First of
Kids
all,
Day, yeah. And you're asking us to make a vote on this tonight.
Yes, I'm gonna make a motion that, I get in, and I can't vote here in work session.
Right.
It's either,
Yeah.
we're gonna, because they have a valid point at the high school, since I did change from, tri to semester. So, I mean, you're looking at either 4 days or 5 days. 5 days is the 7th start, 4 days is the 8th of August start. I didn't have too many people that comment about taking away that Wednesday. You know, you can start on a Monday and take away that's 3 days there you gain, but, I mean, we could always start on that Monday, the 12th, and take away that Wednesday, and there's 4 days there, but
So what's our disparity, about 84 and 96?
It's 12 days, it's 2 weeks and 2 days.
And you look at like this testing assessment calendar we got, like, almost 70% of the testing is done in the second semester. I mean, at the high school, it's 80%.
elementary and junior high, there's a lot of testing in
Yeah,
the
so-
second semester.
Yeah,
Those
it's
are-
overwhelmingly second semester.
Yeah,
We
those
talked to
are-
our elementary teachers, and they said that when the semester ends, doesn't have any effect on their 9 weeks grades. It doesn't affect their testing. So when this was proposed to them, they said that doesn't help us or hurt us. So they were ambivalent on when the semester ended, but it has a pretty serious impact on the high school and career center.
We can start on the 12th, take away the day before Thanksgiving, and then
You can't take away that.
pull 3 days off from.
You can't
I
take
don't
away
think
that day.
I don't think it'll make a big deal
Taking
taking that day away.
And the sending schools aren't gonna be
Holidays
there.
Thursday.
People travel that day, you won't have anybody there.
I'm completely fine with August 7th. I mean, it means nothing to me. I've missed, my kids and I missed it for the state fair for 20 years. So that doesn't, the state fair argument's not a big deal. We will show at the state fair, and if we have to miss school
And now
one day.
it's excused.
We do, it's excused that, they took care of us, so. I don't think that bothers, it costs somebody some money because they can't go to work that day, but that's part of life. Make decisions. Live with them.
What is your preference, Mr. Yancey, on the seventh or eighth? I see one or the other. Is the August seventh listed first because it's the preference?
I said yes from the high school.
Is your high school?
That gives us 6 more days.
That gives 80, looks like 89, 91.
Yeah, it makes it.
That's a Wednesday.
Yes, it'd be on the
Eighth is a
seventh.
Thursday.
Center.
That would start teachers on Monday,
Starts, yeah,
students on
Monday would be
Wednesday. That would
teachers,
also
but
allow
the-
teachers to have their last day before Memorial Day and not have to come back the Tuesday after Memorial Day.
Just move it up here.
So that's your preference also?
It is, it also closes that gap.
Is-
12 days to
August seventh.
August seventh is the preference.
So it's a week earlier.
Then I would mirror the second calendar as the first.
But slide spring break.
Yeah, back.
Week.
Yeah.
West,
week
yeah,
off.
the west.
Or the career center.
But if,
So it'd still be
are
the,
those other school districts set in their calendars yet? I mean, if we kept it that week that say does
If they
overlap
fall-
with IU,
won't they
can't they fall in on our schedule?
I don't believe any of them have the intention of passing a 2-year calendar.
No, they're not. They only do one.
Okay.
so the second year, they would match us.
So if we
in
kept
one
that,
place.
it would be.
We could have those discussions.
So sort of have in place and they would be,
I mean, we're ahead,
We wouldn't
we're ahead of the game.
yeah.
I mean, we're letting people know exactly what we're doing and the other superintendent by putting a 2-year.
Okay.
Are we on school Labor Day?
Yes.
I'll propose there the 7th then, because they're both here.
So
Okay,
which one, Kevin, did you say was your preference? I didn't hear.
7 day.
August seventh.
Start on August.
Okay.
And then when would school get out? What would be the last day?
23rd.
No, that's.
Teacher, last teacher day would be 22nd. Last teacher day, 23rd.
Students would be 22nd.
And we still keep graduation on 3rd.
You have to make a motion. Again there. I'd have to say the spring break then, it starts March 17th. Maybe the 21st.
All right, we have 5 minutes to do strategic planning.
Now I gotta get the table out, so we'll try it again next
I
month.
say we adjourn our working session and we'll come back here in 6 minutes for our regular meeting.
Sounds good.
Are we actually gonna do this? We're gonna start the meeting now, the executive.
Your what?
We're gonna start.
You said I'm hungry.
I am hungry. I read my.
We'll have executive over what they're called. We have to do that.
They've done a lot. They've done a lot.
Beautiful weather, I mean. You can't go wrong.
Write that down somewhere. Since Wendy is zooming here. Where's our?
Work for the Reds.
It looks really good. It almost looked like a font when I was watching it on my phone. It almost looked like.
How are you?
Doing all right, man. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Right here.
I didn't wear it tonight.
Oh, they did break it out?
No, I should have it all. I know.
I always.
Okay. Right.
He said the same thing. He said it was chilly, and it is. It is just a little chilly. Yeah, you're right.
I was at freezing.
It is chilly. You can tell it's chilly up here.
Colder than normal. It's like they have wind.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Tracy said the same thing. It's crazy.
I got next meeting. You also. Roll off the table.
Mine's green. I got a green one in the truck. I'm German. I am German American. Not bad fed.
Are you bragging or complaining?
No, I bank everywhere, so I keep about $10 in about 3 banks.
Be like my dad, he went to everything at Lawrence and Monroe County, put $1,000 in savings.
We still had $1,000 in savings and every banking.
When he died, I had to take my mom and his death
Oh,
certificate
what a
and
pain in the
put
butt,
it
yeah.
to every bank.
Oh, yeah, that's a good time.
Okay, I think we're ready to get started. Dr. Miller, can you hear us okay?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, Dr. Miller is remote, but for the record, everyone else is present here. So, this meeting is a meeting of the school board in public for the purpose of conducting the school corporation's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There may be time for public participation as indicated by agenda items or as directed by the president. The meeting site is fully accessible. Any person requiring further accommodation should contact the superintendent at the school corporation central office. This meeting is being electronically recorded and will be kept on file in the superintendent's office. A copy of the audio recording will also be available on the NLCX website, and I believe it's being live streamed as well. At this time, two things. We're going to stand and do our pledge, but then we're also going to observe a moment of silence for Reggie Ray, our recently departed 9th grader out at BNL, who we tragically lost on November 4th. So if you would, please rise. Jeff, would you lead us?
Yes, sir. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and please continue to keep Reggie's family in your thoughts and prayers. At this time, I would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes from our last meeting on November the 2nd.
Make the motion to approve.
All right, Mr. Bailey makes the motion.
I'll second the motion to approve.
Mr. Lombrick seconds. Any discussion on the minutes? All right, hearing none then. All those in favor, OPSI. Wait one moment. Matter of order here. I think, Scott, you mentioned that all votes will need to be done by roll calls.
Yeah, since we have somebody zooming in, we have to.
That's correct.
yeah,
Okay,
it
so
can
we
be-
will have to do all our votes by roll call tonight. It'll take a little bit longer, but that's our regulation. So by roll call vote, though, all those in favor of approval of the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's kind of roll call. Dr. Miller, also an aye? All right.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, next up, we have persons to address the board relative to the agenda. Dave, do we have anyone? All right, seeing none then, keep it moving. All right, next item on the agenda is Ms. Kelly Terrell from College and Career Readiness. Ms. Terrell?
Hi. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come speak with you tonight about the exciting initiative and events that we have going on for our elementary students at North Lawrence Community Schools. North Lawrence Community Schools was awarded the 3E grant from Ivy Tech, and because of this grant, we have had the opportunity to implement college and career readiness exposure and exploration for our elementary students. Recently, I don't know if you saw on Facebook, but at Lincoln we had our career day for 4th and 5th grade students, and thanks to Jamie Robb and Mrs. Webb, who's here tonight, and Mrs. Chase didn't make it. We worked together to plan this event. And then we also had 6th grade Real World out at the Career Center. Huge success also. Mrs. Redmond is here tonight and Mrs. Baker. And then we have Thomas Gaither in the back. He came tonight from the Career Center to talk about that event. Hosting events like this provides valuable experiences for students to explore career pathways. Another college and career readiness initiative that North Lawrence Community Schools is in a partnership with the Lawrence County Economic Growth and Mitchell Community Schools. And we are working together to develop a county-wide college and career readiness continuum. The goal is to ensure that all students in Lawrence County are well prepared for life after high school and beyond. The design team consists of teachers, school board members, and industry partners. Thank you to Mr. Bailey. He is our school board representative. And then Jamie Robb is one of our design team members on the continuum. So how Lincoln Career Day came about was we were at one of our design team meetings, and a teacher from Mitchell was talking about Career Day at either Burse or Hatfield, I'm not for sure which one. And when she got done, Jamie Robb looked at me and she was like, I want to do that. And I was like, okay, great. Let's work together to plan this event for the 4th and 5th grade students at Lincoln. So I want to thank Mrs. Webb, Mrs. Robb, and Mrs. Chase for that. And then Mrs. Robb's going to come up and speak about Career Day a little bit further. Another event that we brought back was 6th grade Real World. This was an event that took place prior to COVID. However, since COVID, we haven't had that event. Mrs. Baker, Mrs. Redmond, and I worked together to plan the event for all 6th grade students. Thank you to Mr. Bodie for working out the transportation of getting 6th grade students out to the Career Center. A major change this year was in the past, we had adults come speak about their career. However, this year we had our Career Center students give a presentation and a hands-on activity for our 6th grade students. And I was blown away by these high school students. They talked about work ethic, they talked about collaboration, they talked about employability skills, all of those qualities that employers are looking for in an employee, and I am confident that our students graduating from BNL have a very bright future post-secondary. It was an honor to be a part of Lincoln Career Day. It was an honor to be a part of 6th grade Real World. I am currently working with other elementary counselors to have Career Day at all of our other elementary schools as well. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Robb to talk about Lincoln Career Day, and then we'll have Mrs. Redmond come up to give the details from the Career Center. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come speak with you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have sprained my ankle.
Just now, walking up to the podium?
I'm supposed to have on a boot.
Supposed to wear them.
Are we liable for that, Chris?
Good evening. So the whole Career Day thing, before I got on the design team, I didn't really think about bringing all these careers into the elementary school until I got on the design team and thought, this is important for these kids to be exposed to many different careers. And so she's right. Whenever they said that, I said, I want this. I want this for Lincoln. I want this for our kids. They need to see what all is out there for them. This is just a very small amount of careers that we had come, but it was a starting place. And so we ended up with, I believe it was 14 careers. We had, and one of my goals was to have someone who had a degree and someone who didn't have a degree, because you can get a fantastic job, a career, even if you don't have a degree. So that's what I wanted, and that was kind of my personal vision, was to get these different careers in. So we had a nurse, a CNA, a draftsman, a limestone carver, a construction manager, a carpenter, the PRD president, dental hygienist, dental assistant, sheriff day, EMTs, a veterinarian, a vet tech, a stat flight nurse, and a stat flight pilot. And so the students then were able to choose 4 careers. Before that even, we had them to get on a website called IndianaCareerExplorer.com, which has tons of careers that kids can just kind of peruse through there and see what's available, you know, for them to think about one day. I mean, there's a lot more careers than what is on there, but it still gave them kind of different ideas. And then they were supposed to choose 4. We placed them in 3 different time slots. Each room had 2 speakers. Pretty much, we grouped them together like nurse, CNA, draftsman, limestone carver, like that. Each speaker had 10 minutes, and then there was 5 minutes for the kids to ask questions. I was blown away I kind of went to the different areas and was blown away with students' questions. They were very respectful, which of course, you know, we worked on that and talked about if someone's speaking, you're respectful, you're listening. In the hallways, you need to be quiet because there's still classes going on, but you will be going through hallways where there's people in classrooms working. They did a fantastic job. I was very, very pleased with that. Let's see. One of our concerns was being loud in the hallways. The students did a great job. We did give a feedback or a questionnaire to the students, and one of their things is they didn't want it to end. They loved listening and hearing about the different careers. The plan in the future is to do this again, to have different careers, bring in, you know, whatever, banking, real estate, engineering, all kinds of different careers for them to see and to hear about, and hopefully get those wheels turning on, you know, what can I do? What would my future look like? And so it was really, really a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. And how long did the span of you said 10 minutes per topic?
I'm sorry.
How long did it last? The whole day or half
No,
a day?
Well, Stat Flight, I guess I didn't say that. Stat Flight, helicopter came in, and all of the school got to see that. They all got to go out and experience that and see what was involved there. But the rest of it started at 1 and lasted till 2:30. So we just had 3 different times of 30 minutes. No, well, it was 30 minutes, but 5 of that was walking, transitioning to a different group. And they, you know, the kids went all different places. It wasn't like, you know, you 3 are going to go to this one and then this one and this one. It wasn't like that. You got to choose your 3, and then we just put them in different, you know, who works well together, who's, you know, and we just put them in different time slots. But yeah, it was 30 minutes, so they all got to have 3 different things. And I think had it been longer, they would have done great.
Yeah. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Thomas Gaither. I'm a senior at BNL, and I'm one of the students that did a presentation for the 6th grade Real World. I did it for the Early Childhood Education Program with Mrs. Beth Feltz. And the process that I had to go through to do that was Mrs. Baker came to me and said that my teacher said that it was 3 of the students from my class would be good to do this presentation, and then we had to sign the field trip form because it was all day. We did 3 presentations in the morning, each being 20 minutes long, and then 3 in the afternoon, the same length. And we had to make a slideshow, and then about 2 weeks before the actual thing, we had to present those to Mrs. Baker, and she confirmed that they were good to show the kids, and obviously there were some tweaks and everything, and it went very smoothly.
What was your favorite part?
Oh, there was one kid who, one little boy who said that he would refuse to ever change a diaper. So we made him. We made him change a fake baby's diaper.
How did he do?
He grabbed it by the face.
Did you do this as a 6th grader? Do you remember coming to the Career Center?
I thought I did it as an 8th grader,
Oh, as an 8th
but I probably did it as a sixth grader and just don't remember. I was at Shoswick for
Okay.
middle school.
Well, thank you.
So we brought the sixth graders in two groups, and we started out in the pack. We invited Ryan Griffith, a graduate of what he will call the VOTEC, and we argue with each other because it is now the Career Center. But he is a graduate and speaks very highly of his time at B&L and what he learned through that electronics program that he graduated from. So he spoke for about 5 minutes about his career path and how staying in school and paying attention and doing what you're supposed to is a benefit. And then Jen Staub is a retired middle school counselor. She's one of the partners that we work with through our Upskill Modern Youth Apprenticeship program with ROI. She also spoke along those same lines about finding your passion and sticking to that as you go through high school and find your career. And then if you've noticed through the slideshow, we had signs made and our students stood up at the back, and beforehand, those sixth grade students got to see a little mini presentation about all of the programs at the Career Center made by our radio and TV students, and then they selected 3 programs that they wanted to go visit. So we would call for all the students that had session 1 in welding, and they would go find our welding sign, and the students led them over to the Career Center. So we did tour guide style is what we called it. So it made navigating during those transitions pretty easy. I was so proud of the high school students. They were trying to make connections. I followed a group out of the pack, and just out of the blue, our auto services student said, "So, how's your day been so far?" And it warmed my heart. Miss Baker and I call those our proud mama moments because they get it and they understand what they're doing. Any questions?
No, well done. My son was one of the sixth graders that got to participate in a few of those topics, so he had a ball. So thank
Great. That's the goal, is to always be the conversation around the dinner table
Yeah.
in a positive manner.
My neighbor was one of the high school students, and I think he enjoyed it more than the sixth grade students. He is still talking about it.
Great. It always helps when you feed them pizza at lunch.
Oh, well, that's true.
You don't typically have livestock out at the Career Center, do you? Is that a special treat, I assume? Every day?
I think
No.
some of it was mine.
Was it yours?
Yes, he had a very angry goat because it was the only goat there. It was probably horse for the next 3 days.
Should've brought 3.
No, they're not typically there. That was a special treat, walked over from the farm.
No, that's great. All right, thank you. All right, is that all for that agenda item then? Thank you, okay. Next on our agenda, Ms. Hudson, relative to elementary curriculum.
Good evening. I don't have any thing to ask for approval tonight for, just 2 pieces of information for the board. I want to publicly thank Mrs. Naomi Trojan, our 6th grade teacher at Shoswick. Naomi took it upon herself to write a K-12 robotics competition grant for the entire corporation for all of our robotics teams. And NLCS, as a result of her efforts, was awarded over $37,000 for competition fees and related supplies this year for robotics. So I'd like to give her a round of applause because that's above and beyond.
Thank you.
Naomi is one of those teachers that will always say, absolutely, I will do that. And she actually brought the grant to me and said, is it okay if I write this on behalf of the corporation? So thank you so much to her. The second item is that NLCS has received the 2023-2024 Competitive Science of Reading Grant from the from the Indiana Department of Education's Literacy Center. This was a competitive grant that we applied for very quickly. It became available in very late October and was due in very early November. We were fully funded in the amount of $300,000 that needs to be spent by the end of August of 24. So it's a very short grant window. It's to be spent primarily on K-3 science of reading, professional development, and materials. It will be spent in 4 of our elementary schools. Parkview is already part of the Indiana Literacy Cadre, so they're already receiving some benefits because of their membership to that literacy cadre. So this will be for our other 4 schools that are not part of the cadre. Thank you.
Well done, thank you. All right, moving right along. Next on the agenda, we have business office. I don't believe it's Ms. Mooter. Who's gonna, you're gonna?
No, I'm gonna do it.
All right.
Thank you very much. We are asking for board approval of the claims and payroll since the last board meeting as presented in your packets.
All right, have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Bailey approves after Mr. King made the motion. Any discussion on this? All right, with no discussion, then we'll do another roll call vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Dr. Miller, also an aye. Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. And then number two, we are asking for board approval of the personnel agenda as presented in your packets.
I'll make that motion.
All right. And I have a motion from Mr. Lambert. Do I have a second? All right, Ms. Miller seconds. Any discussion relative to the personnel agenda? All right, hearing no discussion, again, a roll call vote. All those in favor of approving the personnel agenda as presented?
Aye.
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 Dr. Miller. Okay, motion carries. All right, Mr. Underwood, anything else?
No, sir.
All right. Okay, moving right along. Next, we have Mr. Yancey.
We are asking the board for approval of the 2024-2025 and 2025-2026 school calendars. The student start day will be August the 7th. The teacher start day will be August the 5th. The end will be, for students, will be May 22nd, and the last teacher day will be May 23rd. Spring break will be March 17th through the 21st. And then we'll do corresponding with the next calendar as I make the adjustments from the work session.
All right. We have a recommendation from the superintendent on a 24-25 school calendar. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Lambert makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Bailey makes a second. All right, discussion relative to the school calendar.
So, so just to point out, so this was discussed in the earlier work session that we just had prior to this meeting, and this is different than the calendar that was put on the websites or emailed to people, everything, right?
Yes, ma'am.
This has a little bit of change, so
And we'll update it through the communications director.
So basically, the reason for the change where it starts school about a week earlier than the proposal was because there was such a disparity between the two semesters, and that really negatively affected the high school, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And
Because we
then-
changed this semester.
Okay. And then what would be the dates then? Are we approving the 25-26?
Yes, I would do it corresponding with what we did the previous year's calendar there.
Okay, so if the first student day was the 13th, you would just move that up a full week
Yes, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
and then move up the end of the school too, okay?
And again, this was a topic of a public work session, as Ms. Collier pointed out, and the trouble is straddling, and the trouble in part is straddling Christmas break and keeping the balance of days between because there's a great disparity, I think, 6 days or 8 days of as it was put out in draft form. So 12 days, okay.
On the 2025, 2026 calendar, you're going to adjust it accordingly. What was the decision for the spring break? Is it staying?
We would move it back to what was the originally.
What the original proposal. So what would change would be the start and stop date?
Yes.
not
Yes,
the
sir.
Spring break only in the first year. Okay. Thank you.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, hearing none then, all those in favor by way of a roll call, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, motion carries.
Thank you. We are asking the board approval of Bedford Middle School ARCO 2.0 boiler in the amount of $82,900. That building has 3 boilers, and one is now totally gone. We can't fix it. So I need to get this ordered quite quickly because a section of the building is not being heated thoroughly, and that's the gym. And we did get multiple bids.
Make a motion to approve.
All right, have a motion from Mr. King. Ms. Miller seconds. Any further discussion relative to the boiler in the amount of $82,900? All right, hearing none then, approval or vote by roll call. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, motion carries.
Thank you. We are asking the board approval for a HICOM to install new surveillance cameras at North Lawrence Community School maintenance and transportation buildings. I would like these cameras installed before we purchase the new buses, hopefully in a year, for the amount of $7,856.50.
All right, a recommendation for new surveillance cameras in LCS maintenance buildings. I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Mr. King makes the motion.
I'll second it.
Mr. Lambert seconds. Any discussion? All right, hearing none then, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye via roll call vote.
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries.
Thank you. We are asking the board approval for HICOM to install new surveillance cameras at Playful Pathways for a cost of $8,152.35. You were in your packet, you have where the cameras will be placed. We are having a few issues outside, so this will help hopefully deter some of those issues.
Okay. Recommendation from Mr. Yancey relative to cameras at Playful Pathways. Do I have a motion?
Make the motion.
Mr. Bailey makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. King seconds the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
No discussion?
Did I leave out discussion?
That's okay. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, board.
Sorry.
Well, I did take that out of the technology budget,
Okay.
so
Yeah, I apologize for not
Aye.
allowing discussion on it. Do you have any further questions, Ken?
that's
All right, relative to the agenda, that's all I see here. Saving persons to address the board. Is any further address the board or anyone wish to? All right, seeing no one jump right up. Then, I believe our next.
School spotlights and highlights.
Oh, I'm sorry, Scott. Yes.
It's on the next page. It's on the back.
Oh, okay. Then our closing business. Then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. King to mention the school spotlights and highlights.
Are you ready?
Mic on?
Yeah, okay, Playful Pathways. Guests came in to read a rhythmic story and play the Cajun, a box-shaped drum. Children were awesome listeners and loved taking turns tapping the drum after the story. Toddlers made daring ghosts out of their footprints. Our 3 to 5 year old classes are helping choose their next studies. Some are studying pets, music, and tubes and tunnels. The staff is planning an informative parent night to share all of the components of each classroom for November the 30th. School board is welcome. We are preparing to open a pre-K classroom in January. This information has been well received by our families. Parkview Elementary. Parkview had a wonderful community turnout for its first ever trunk or treat event on October 27th. We are excited about our kindergarten Macy Day parade on Friday. Kindergarten students create floats out of boxes and parade around both buildings to show off their creativity. Lincoln Elementary. With a successful career day for 4th and 5th grade students on November 3rd, we received a lot of positive feedback from our staff and students. Our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students did a fantastic job performing at the Veterans Day program on November the 10th. Each veteran received a small ornament from our school to thank them for their service. Our student council also provided cookies and punch for everyone in attendance. Shazak Elementary. Students and teachers are participating in WIN, time during school day. This is going so well, and we are proud of our success. Through this process, we will meet each student's needs where they are, address academic areas, and provide both intervention and enrichment for our students. Our teams, including Spell Bowl, Math Bowl, robotics, basketball, and cheerleading, were recognized at a pep rally last week. We have incredible students and are proud of their many talents and hard work. Our basketball teams have started a strong athletic season. Both teams are 3-0, and we're proud of how they represent our school. The Guardian Club is wrapping up for winter, and they have learned so much through this process. Our elementary community collected and donated 1,413 pairs of new or gently used shoes to send to third world countries. We'd like to thank the PTO for spearheading this initiative and our Shawswick family for the generosity. Mrs. Spradlin, our 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students, did a wonderful job with the Veterans Day program. Thank you to her and our students for their hard work and a beautiful job paying tribute to all veterans. Dollins Elementary. Dollins is having our coin wars between grades this week. The winning grade wins a pizza party and extra recess. Dollin kids will have turkey games this Friday to celebrate and prepare for Thanksgiving break. Our 6th grader, Anna Burris, had another story published on WBIW. It's about the Dollins Elementary Veterans Day. Needmore Elementary. Needmore celebrated World Kindness Day on November 13th. Activities are focused on the theme of being kind to all, and everyone even dressed in a cardigan to honor the work of Mr. Rogers, whose philosophy was, be the good in the world. Our Spell Bowl team competed in the area competition November 13th. NLCS Maintenance Department, with the support from Mr. Yancey, built our school a shelter house. This is being used as an outdoor classroom and is an area for students and families to gather. They also painted our ball field dugouts, improved the roof of the dugouts, and installed a spectacular sign on the front dugout. This is a great first impression as a welcome to guest visitors and those passing on Highway 37. Our kindergarten class participated in the fall hayride. They loved it since for some kids this was their first hayride. We recently hosted a school-wide pep rally to support our elementary basketball team as they kicked off their season. Now the younger students are already saying they want to be on the team when they are older. Bedford Middle School. Our 7 North team, Mr. Spencer Cobb, Mrs. Gratzer, Mrs. Montgomery, Mrs. Strouser, along with Mrs. Lovell, did a fantastic job presenting at our November staff meeting. They presented information about students reflecting on their own learning. Our orchestra program was fantastic. The students and Mrs. Heather Jones did an outstanding job. Our band's performance was very successful. The band students and Ms. Hannah Frash put together a great performance. We had a wonderful Veterans Day program on Friday, November 10th. The choir director, Mr. Luke Hayden, put together a great performance, and our choir students were amazing. Teachers worked hard on November 7th, Virtual Day. We continue with TBRI, and we began the work of developing proficiency scales. Gateway Academy. We continue to partner with local agencies to provide an enriched learning experience for students. We attend Makerspace at the Boys and Girls Club every week for skill building. Families Forever provide mentoring weekly. Hoosier Uplands provides so much for our program. Public Bedford Library and Centerstone are great community partners. Our community support is amazing. 2 seniors have completed all required academic credits and are spending quality time in work experience. 14 seniors currently attending Gateway Academy on track to graduate on time with their class. 7 of those are on track for early graduation should they choose. 141 high school credits have been earned as of November 1st. 38% of Gateway Academy participants have exemplary attendance. North Lawrence Career Center. 15 seniors visited General Motors for a personalized tour and a presentation of their pre-apprenticeship program. Introduction to Culinary students completed their trimester final by creating a dish of their choice that was judged by the staff. Students working towards their CNA have earned or started earning their clinical hours. Auto Services received 2 digital engines for training from Cummins Incorporated. Early childhood education students are collaborating with construction trades to construct a mini village at Playful Pathways. BNL High School. BNL is proud to honor our 2023 state champion Lady Stars as we raised the title banner and passed out the bling this weekend. We are excited to share the great news of a student-initiated project on the Solar Eclipse podcast series in anticipation of the great event in April. We highlight the great work our students did in hosting Career Day Real World event at the Career Center. High school students spoke to our 6th graders about the great programming happening at NLCC. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Scott. For upcoming meetings, I know we have, this calendar up here shows December 14th. I believe we have something on December 7th also, don't we?
Work session.
What's that?
Work session.
A work session scheduled?
Maybe we
Work session.
might be able to do the mission and vision.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe we should put that at first of the list. Yeah.
Our financial advisor might be here also.
Okay, so stay tuned for a public announcement on the topics in the agenda of December 7th and 14th. Next week is obviously our Thanksgiving break for the whole corporation, right? So,
Yes.
do you have anything else, sir?
Yes, if I
Okay,
could
go
get some thank yous real quick. There are a few people I would like to thank. Logan Feltz and his landscaping class at the Career Center. They've been working on the flower beds at Playful Pathways, and he's going to start working at Shawswick. I really appreciate the amount of time they have been given to help our corporation with the front of our buildings there, and it's really made a difference at Playful Pathways because that was getting to be kind of a mess, the landscaping and so forth. So he helped clean that up, and I really appreciate it. Also, I want to thank Jeff. He opened his farm up for movie night at FFA that I was allowed to come, and we had such a great night. And I want to thank the Feltzes for helping with the kids with the FFA. You can tell the kids really enjoyed that. Donnie Zolman and the maintenance and his staff for all the projects. In your packet, you'll see the Christmas projects that his staff will be doing. I have to thank all the people over the last few months that worked with the calendar. That's not an easy task, and I appreciate everyone who put time in to help put this calendar together. Kaylee and her team for decorating the administration building for Christmas. It really gives an uplifting feel when you come in the building. I really appreciate all Kaylee does for me. Communications Director David is a huge thanks. The amount of work I put on him, that's not even regarding communications. He is always says yes, and the whole staff is here. It's been so enjoyable to work with. I've enjoyed watching the start of winter sports. It's been, I've seen some basketball games here. The boys, of course, I guess it used to be called soap and towel game back in my day. Watched the girls play, and very competitive, and our girls are very fun to watch. They really put forth an outstanding effort, and I hope to see some other sports, especially in the middle school here shortly. Melissa Hines, our special ed director, put on a professional development for our administrators today. She brought in our attorney, Miss Boyer, and Article 7 is not an easy, it's about this thick, about the rules and regulations of special ed. And one of my goals was to evaluate our special ed program, and we will be continuing to do this. But it was neat to bring an expert in to work with our principals about the laws regarding special education. And I always learn something when you bring in someone outside to talk about Article 7. Again, I want to thank everyone and wish everyone a very blessed Thanksgiving. And please enjoy your week, but have a safe week. And thank you, Board.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Yancey. Dr. Miller, any comments from you on online?
No, thank you everyone for it. I would just say it was great to hear from the staff and the students about everything that went on this past week with their career days. I heard really wonderful things from students and parents about that. So I didn't want to pipe in and say that when you were speaking, but thank you for spearheading that. That's awesome.
Yes. All right. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Lambert makes a motion.
Second.
Mr. King seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
All right. Thank you all very much.